Hi, I'm Eduarda, and I'm here to share with you my experience inside Love Addicts, which is an online therapeutical program specifically designed for people like me who live with anxious, insecure attachment. A little disclaimer: Love Addicts is not sponsoring these videos, and I'm only here to share my experience and not the contents of the program. I do hope that my journey can help someone else out there. Let's go. So, around week 7 is when I took the leap and I found a buddy. So, one of the features of Love Addicts, and this is like my second favorite after Ask an Expert, is that you can find a buddy to go on the healing journey with you and to give you even closer support because obviously you're interacting with the whole community and you're interacting with the coaches and psychologists, but this is someone that you create like a really close bond with, and um, will know a lot more about your situation and who will support you through tough times, because obviously everyone is there healing anxious attachment, but like if you think about like what brings a person to a program where they're going to heal anxious attachment, and it's usually because they are either going through a breakup, which in my case that was it, and in my buddy's case I'll tell you all about my buddy and how like uh like having this person in my life has helped me so much. But like you're either going through a breakup, or you are still in a relationship but you're not feeling good in that relationship, or your relationship is about to fall apart, or you have a lot of interpersonal relationship problems, so you might have problems with like parents or children or grandchildren or stepchildren. But there is always drama going on. Like you don't find this program unless you're really wanting to change and improve your relationships, which means that you are probably not too happy with yourself and your relationships at that point. So, the way that this happens inside Love Addicts is that there's a host section dedicated to this. And I love how organized they are because once you're in the platform, and if you see my other videos, you kind of got a sneak peek of the platform. But like everything is organized by sections, which for someone like me with anxiety, it like makes my experience in the platform so much better, because one of the ways that anxiety manifests for me is that whenever something is too chaotic or not organized, or like if I'm hit with a lot of information, or if I'm like in a, like it could be a physical space or even a website, but like when there's too much. And that's happened to me so many times where like I start a course and like this is not self-development anymore, but even like an educational course in the sense of like training to have a skill or something for like the job market, and then you go into the platform and you don't really know like where to start and what to do and where everything is, and then it all of a sudden just feels like I it just feels like too much, and that I don't know. It makes it hard for me. Like it's already hard for me to pace myself in any situation. But if I'm in a place or in a course or in a website or in a platform where things are chaotic or just like not as like beautifully organized as they are in Love Addicts, then I usually get a sense of overwhelm, and that gets in the way of me like doing the work that I'm there to do or learning whatever I need to learn. And with Love Addicts is like, even though they have so much information, because everything is in its little section, it means that your mind just sort of like goes to this really calm place, or at least that's what happens to my mind. And you're like, okay, like this is where I go to vent, and this is where I go for my courses, and this is where I go to ask questions. And then there's a place where you go to find a buddy. So you go into the section, and there will be posts from people saying that they are looking for a buddy. So you can either then put out your own post. Like if you read through the posts that are there and you're like, I don't really think like anyone is really a match to be my buddy, then you can do your own post. And I like from the beginning of the program in Love Addicts, I always liked the idea of having a buddy, but then every time that I went into this section, I would like read the post and I'd be like, no, like I don't think this person is quite like compatible. I don't think we're like in the same place. Or maybe they would like, because this is like people from all over the world in the platform. So maybe they lived very far away and I'm like, oh, the time distance is going to be like it's going to make it very hard for us to talk. And I kind of wanted someone that I could, well, first of all in the same time zone, but preferably someone that lived closer to me where we could eventually like meet in person too, because like I'm always like interested in meeting people and making friends. And I was like, okay, it'd be nice if it's someone that like they might not be like in the same city that I am, but at least if they're like in the UK, like I can eventually meet them. So I kept every once in a while going into the section and like reading the posts and checking, but then like I was quite never there for it. And I kind of like didn't feel a rush to connect with anyone because I was still like going through so much. And I never really had like the initiative to write my own post. So it was just something that I kind of like, oh, this is part of the program. I'm going to get it done at some point. Like, I don't know what the purpose of a buddy is, but like I'll get one at some point and see like how that helps me and how I can help someone else. And then one day I go in and there's like this post from my current buddy, and they are saying, they are in London, which is where I am, and they were also going through a breakup, and just the wording that this person used and their situation, I was just like, oh, like I really felt like we could connect on another level because we were going through similar things. And I was not wrong. So I reached out and then we talked on the platform. We eventually exchanged phone numbers. And this was months ago, like many months ago. And we are now like good friends because, first of all, I just have to say that the buddy thing is just so good because if you do find someone who's a good buddy to you and you can be a good buddy to them, the level of support that you get is amazing. Like, because this is someone that understands exactly what you're going through because they're going through a very similar thing. They're in the platform with you, so they also have the same insights that you have. And in my case, I was so lucky because my buddy is an amazing listener. And I'm learning how to be an amazing listener with them as well. Like it's one of my big goals is like to become a better listener. And also like, when you like you're actively listening and but you're not trying to like solve anyone's problem. Like you're just there listening. And if you have to give an opinion, you do. And if they ask you for a solution, you might like kind of say like what you think, but you're actually like you're listening so actively that you're really seeing them for who they really are and their situation for what it really is, instead of like trying to make them feel better or trying to find a solution for them. It's like, no, like we are just here to be seen and heard. And I had heard, like, I started craving that kind of connection because the more I learned about relationships inside of Love Addicts, because at one point, you're not only learning about anxious attachment itself, but you also learning about the mechanism of relationships and the mechanism of connection and of intimacy and healthy relationships and how to maintain healthy relationships. And then you start seeing everything that's possible, like the level of connection that you can have with people. And obviously, like the ultimate goal is to have like a really satisfying romantic relationship. But then on the way to that, there are, friendships and the people that you interact in a day to day. And those relationships can actually be very beautiful and very fulfilling if you allow them to be. So, the being like having found the right buddy where we are both willing to listen, we're both willing to be there for each other, and we're both willing to see each other for who we really are, without wanting to change each other, without wanting to solve each other's lives. And because sometimes you just need someone to say like, yeah, like that sucks, like, because sometimes there's nothing else to say except like, that's horrible, or that sucks, or like, yeah, like I understand the pain, like, and I'm so sorry that you're feeling all of that pain, and I'm so sorry that you're feeling all of that confusion. And having someone to truly listen, where you can go on and on and on and on and on and on about the same things, because what I'm finding between me and my buddy, what seems to be a pattern, is that when we get triggered by something and our anxious, insecure attachment kicks in, we then ruminate, and then we talk about it and we repeat ourselves, and then we might like have a whole conversation about a topic, but then have to go back to that same topic a couple weeks later, because it's still, like until something is resolved in your mind, you keep thinking about it, and then you keep wanting to talk about it. And there are very, like, at least in my life, there are very few friends that would, first of all, listen without trying to solve my problem. And they all mean so well. And I have like amazing friends, but they see you suffering and they want to get to a solution, right? And they just want to like resolve it for you. And often, and I do the same for them. Like, I'm trying not to do this anymore, but I think it's very common where, someone that you care so deeply about comes to you and they're like, oh, I'm suffering because, this person like left me. And then you start hearing about the relationship, and usually you're like, well, that wasn't a good relationship anyway. So you're like, well, it's good that they left you, and you have to move on. And, this is for the best. And like, yeah, that's all true. And that's exactly what I would say to a friend. Hopefully not in the future. Like, hopefully I will like listen a little more. But it's like, sometimes you just have to say, okay, so like, all right, so this relationship doesn't sound that great. And yet, like, you seem to be really grieving and like missing this person. So tell me more about how you're feeling, and like, and then someone who just sympathizes with your pain. And I do have like friends who listen very well, but like at some point, like, you just don't want to bother people anymore. Like, you'll talk to them about it like once or twice, and but like people have their lives, so you don't, like, I don't know, like at least I don't feel good about like reaching out to like people all of the time about the same issue. I kind of like to like try and move on on like the subjects that I'm talking about. And also it feels, at least to me, like there is a sense of pride where like I sometimes feel a bit like humiliated if I'm like showing all of my pain to someone who isn't on that page. Because especially like, and you might have like the best friend in the world, or like in my case, like I have amazing friends, but if they're like in a super happy relationship right now and I just been rejected, I don't want to talk to someone who is super happy in a relationship about how I've just been rejected. Like, that doesn't feel good to my pride. So when I found my buddy, I said to them, like, I heard in the program and from therapy, like, that talking about the things that are bothering us and talking about like our stories and our history and like being heard and seen is very healing. So we like purposely, um well, we exchange a lot of messages, first of all, because we basically like exchange numbers. So we're like constantly talking over message. So whenever one of us is triggered, we just send the message and the other one like sort of replies as soon as they can. And because obviously we are adults and we have lives, but like we do kind of take care of each other. Because like if like my buddy just sends me a message that is like, oh hey, look at this funny meme, I maybe like, if I'm busy, I'm not going to worry about like answering that right away. But if they send me a message, or if I send them a message that says like, oh, like I'm really triggered today, I'm really struggling today, then those are messages that we're very careful to reply to, like kind of as soon as possible. So we do exchange a lot of messages. We are kind of like on call for each other. But then we started doing video calls, and our video calls have been like hours long because we each got to tell each other about our most recent relationship. And then we got to tell, and not necessarily in this order, like it wasn't that like organized, but like I told my story with my ex and how everything had gone down, and all the doubts that I had, and all the shame that I felt, and all the regret, but also like how angry I was with them. And I got to tell my story, and like this person really listened. Like they weren't doing anything else. They were there, like on the other side of the camera, taking in every word, offering absolutely no solutions, just like listening. And every once in a while making a comment that I could tell from their comments that like they were really listening, because sometimes they wanted more details, or sometimes they hadn't understood something, so they were asking for clarity around like something that I had said, because they hadn't quite like grasped what the situation was. And at some points they were asking me like, okay, but like how did you feel through that, and like why, like, and you had this reaction, and like what was going through your mind at that point. And then I did the same thing to them, so like that was kind of like our first video call. We told each other our stories about like our recent relationships, because we were both really suffering because of that, because at the end of those relationships. And then now we've known each other for months, and we had so many video calls, and we met in person. And every time that we talk, there is this freedom to ruminate and go back to subjects. So I might have already like talked about a situation that is bothering me 1,000 times, but then I'll go like, this is still bothering me, and I don't even have to ask for permission. I just talk about it again, like, do you remember that, like that is still looping in my mind, or like that's still bothering me, or like I'm still angry about this. And it's because we met inside the anxious insecure attachment program, inside of Love Addicts, because we had this pact to support each other like through this healing process. The freedom that I have to like talk at length about like everything inside of me that is um bubbling up, like all the negative emotions, and go back, like, and if I have to talk about like my ex 1,000 times, I'll do it. And if like they have to talk about it 1,000 times, they'll do it. And we have this freedom and this willingness to listen to each other that I think came from the fact of meeting inside of Love Addicts, and having gone through the same courses, the same content, the same therapy session. We're like willing to like dissect every detail of something and like speculate with each other, but we do it with the consciousness that no matter how much we dissect, how much we analyze a situation, it just is what it is. And our anxious attachment is playing up, but then we allow room for the over analyzing when something has just happened, because we also know like the sooner we do the over analyzing, the sooner we are going to be like feeling a little bit better. So yeah, so the buddy system inside of Love Addicts, I think, is incredibly valuable. I don't know if it's just my experience that I got like really, really lucky with the person that I found, but what I got and still get from the buddy system, and having a buddy, is that I feel truly listened to, and truly seen, and truly understood. I feel like I have someone that has my back, And while I'm healing and then living life and things are happening, whenever something is too difficult, whenever something is triggering, I can always just shoot them a message. And I know that when they answer, they are going to help me through that moment. And I also feel so good that I can be there for them in the same capacity. So, like, even my self worth and my sense of value, I think, has improved from being in this type of friendship where I can offer so much. All right, see you in the next video.